Hey guys, tonight we trade pyramid dust for forest mist, swapping ancient headrests for a pool of water so clear, so dangerously still, it becomes a mirror for self-destruction. You're standing at the edge of a hidden grove in ancient Boeotia. Sunlight filters through ancient oaks, dappling the mossy ground like scattered coins. The air is cool, thick with the scent of damp earth, pine resin, and wild mint crushed underfoot. A stream chuckles nearby. But here, where the water widens into a perfect glassy pool, silence reigns. It's unnervingly quiet. Dragonflies hover, iridescent needles stitching the air. You feel the cool, damp moss beneath your bare feet, the slight prickle of anticipation. Or is it dread, crawling up your spine? You're here because he's coming. Narcissus, the boy whose beauty could silence arguments and start wars. But honestly, if you saw your own reflection for the first time with such brutal clarity, untouched by Instagram filters or bathroom mirrors, you probably wouldn't survive the realization. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where in the world are you resting your eyes tonight? Drop a comment with your location and local time. Let's map the wanderlust of this sleepy audience. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You crouch low behind a screen of fragrant myrtle bushes. The leaves cool against your skin. The hunt is over for him today. No deer stirs in this sacred stillness. Narcissus pushes through the ferns, his movements effortless, a panther in human form. Sweat glistens on his sun-bronzed skin. He's tired, thirsty. He drops his hunting spear, a shaft of polished ash wood, with a soft thud on the moss. He kneels by the pool's edge, drawn by the promise of cool water. You hold your breath. This is the moment. He leans forward, cupping his hands to drink, and freezes. His own face stares back, not distorted by ripples, but perfect, framed by the dark water like a cameo in obsidian. The mainstream historical fact hits you. The most famous version comes from Ovid's Metamorphoses, penned around 8 AD, cementing this tragic vanity tale in Western lore forever. His breath catches, not a gasp of horror, but a sharp intake of pure, unadulterated shock. His reflection, those deep-set eyes, the curve of his jaw, the tousled hair like spun gold, isn't just seen, it's discovered. It's like finding a masterpiece in your own attic, except the masterpiece is you, and the attic is, well, water. But why this pool? Why so cruelly clear? The quirky tidbit surfaces. Some ancient sources whispered this wasn't just any water, but the pool of Styx, or a spring touched by the moon goddess Selene, possessing unnatural clarity as a divine trap. Imagine nature itself conspiring, the water molecules aligning with malicious precision just for him. No ripples dare disturb the surface. It's less a natural phenomenon and more a meticulously staged intervention. Think of it as the ancient Greek equivalent of a high-definition screen appearing magically in the wilderness, calibrated solely to showcase his doom. And then there's the scholarly murmur, the one that rustles like dry leaves in the otherwise silent grove. Historians still argue whether Ovid invented the core Narcissus myth wholesale, brilliantly weaving themes of identity and obsession, or if he was retelling a much older, perhaps localized Boeotian folktale about a beautiful youth and a cursed pool, lost to time, but hinted at in fragments. Was Narcissus Ovid's original tragic hero, or just his most famous reinterpretation? The debate lingers, unresolved, much like the perfect, motionless reflection staring back at the boy who can't look away. His hand, poised to break the surface and drink, hovers. Thirst forgotten, the hunt forgotten. The world shrinks to the water's edge, and the breathtaking stranger trapped within it. He doesn't know it yet, but he's already begun to drown. Remember those Egyptian headrests? Stone-cold practicality. This pool? Liquid vanity, and infinitely more dangerous. The perfect reflection holds Narcissus captive, a fly in the amber of his own beauty. But this moment of discovery, this fatal fascination, didn't bloom in a vacuum. Its roots coil back, deep and dark, to the very day he drew his first breath. Rewind. You're no longer in the silent grove, but thrust into the close, humid air of a modest, Theban chamber years earlier. The scent is overwhelming. Sweat, blood, crushed herbs like pennyroyal and saffron, the metallic tang of fear. A midwife mutters prayers to Eileithia, goddess of childbirth, her knuckles white around an amulet. Liriope, a river nymph of breathtaking beauty herself, strains, her cries echoing off the plastered walls. Her lover, the river god Cephisus, is conspicuously absent, perhaps diverted by a playful current, perhaps indifferent. The mainstream historical fact anchors the chaos. Narcissus was the son of the river god Cephisus and the nymph Liriope, a union as fleeting and turbulent as a spring flood. His mother's beauty was legendary, a precursor to the devastating allure her son would inherit. You feel the stifling heat, hear Liriope's ragged breaths, see the slick, squalling infant finally placed on her heaving chest. Relief floods the room, thick and sweet. But Liriope's eyes hold a shadow. She knows the world is perilous for the beautiful. Days later, the air clears, but the dread remains. Liriope, cradling her impossibly perfect son, makes the arduous journey to Mount Patuus. Not for blessings, but for a verdict. She seeks Tiresias, the legendary blind seer whose inner sight pierces veils mere eyes cannot. The path is steep, rocky, scented with time and dust. The seer's cave exhales cool, damp air smelling of wet stone and burnt offerings. You stand beside Liriope as she approaches the ancient figure, his milky eyes staring into a distance only he perceives, his gnarled hand resting on a staff worn smooth by prophecy. Her voice trembles as she asks the question burning in her soul. Will my son live to a ripe old age? Tiresias is silent for a long moment, the only sound the drip of water deep within the cave. Then his voice, like dry reeds scraping stone, delivers the chilling oracle. Yes, if he never comes to know himself. The quirky, paradoxical tidbit, Tiresias, blind from either Athena's wrath for seeing her bath, or Hera's curse for siding with Zeus in an argument about pleasure, was famed for his compensatory prophetic power. His blindness wasn't a weakness, but the price for seeing fate's weave. The pronouncement hangs in the cave's chill, cryptic, ominous, a riddle wrapped in a warning. Know himself? What could that possibly mean for a babe in arms? To Liriope, it feels less like guidance and more like a curse disguised as hope. She clutches Narcissus tighter, vowing to shield him from mirrors, from still pools, from any surface that might betray his own image. A futile promise. How do you hide a boy from his own shadow? But what did know himself really entail? This is where the scholarly debate coils like smoke from the seer's brazier. Historians still argue whether Tiresias's prophecy referred narrowly to physical self-recognition, literally never seeing his reflection, or more broadly to psychological self-knowledge, a warning against vanity, self-absorption, or the perilous journey of introspection. Was it a literal instruction to avoid mirrors, or a profound philosophical caution against the labyrinth of the ego? Did knowing himself mean understanding his origins, his divine father's neglect, his mother's fear, his mortality, or simply the dangerous power of his own beauty? The debate simmers. Some see a straightforward magical prohibition: avoid reflections, live long. Others see a deeper, tragic irony. True self-knowledge, understanding his limitations, his capacity for cruelty, his isolation, was the very thing that would have saved him, yet remained forever out of reach, obscured by the dazzling surface. As Liriope carries her son back down the mountain, the prophecy sits heavy in her heart, a stone of dread. She swaddles him not just in linen, but in ignorance. She banishes polished bronze, avoids calm ponds, keeps his world devoid of revealing surfaces. Narcissus grows, a golden child in a carefully curated darkness, utterly unaware of the weapon he carries in his own face. His beauty, unchecked by self-awareness, becomes a shield against empathy, a magnet for adoration he cannot reciprocate, and the very seed of his doom. The fates, it seems, were knitting a particularly tricky sweater for young Narcissus, and he was destined to get fatally tangled in the yarn. Remember those Egyptian headrests? Practical problems. This prophecy? A philosophical landmine disguised as parental advice. Sleep tight, little Narcissus. Just maybe avoid pawns later, okay? The prophecy hangs heavy over Narcissus's golden childhood, a shroud woven by blind Tiresias's words. But fate, it seems, enjoys weaving multiple threads into its tragic tapestry. While Liriope frets over reflections, another story unfolds in the same myth-drenched mountains, a story of sound stolen and solitude enforced. You're pulled upwards, away from Theban streets, into the cool, echoing highlands, where nymphs dance in dappled sunlight, and the air smells of ozone and wild oregano. Here, Echo dwells, not the disembodied voice of the grove yet, but a vibrant Oread nymph, her laughter like water over stones, her words tumbling freely, joyfully. She loves conversation, debate, the sheer music of connection. Her voice is her essence. The mainstream historical fact resonates. Echo's specific curse originates in Ovid's Metamorphoses, a punishment directly from Hera, queen of the gods. She wasn't always fragmented sound. She was a whole being, silenced for deception. You feel the vibrant energy of her presence, the way her voice fills a clearing, how other nymphs lean in to hear her tales. She's life embodied in sound, a counterpoint to the silent dread shadowing young Narcissus far below. The scene shifts, charged with divine pettiness. High on cloud-wreathed Olympus, the scent of ambrosia hangs thick, undercut by suspicion. Hera paces, her peacock feather robe hissing against the marble floor. Zeus, her perpetually wandering husband, is unaccounted for. Again, suspicion coils in Hera's gut like a viper. She descends to the mortal slopes, a goddess disguised as mist, determined to catch Zeus mid-indiscretion with some mountain nymph. Her eyes, sharp as shards of ice, scan the woods. And there's Echo near a sparkling spring, conveniently positioned. The quirky, tragic tidbit: Echo wasn't initially trying to protect Zeus's affairs. Ovid suggests he was simply blessed, or cursed, with the gift of gab and loved to talk Hera's ear off, deliberately delaying the goddess with endless chatter and stories, while Zeus's latest fling made her escape through the trees. Imagine it, Echo weaving elaborate tales about cloud formations or the mating habits of stags, while behind her, rustling foliage betrays a fleeing nymph. Hera's frustration isn't just anger, it's the fury of a queen outmaneuvered by a chatty subordinate. The air crackles with impending wrath. Enough! Hera's voice cracks like thunder, freezing Echo mid-sentence. The goddess's eyes narrow. You think your tongue is clever? You use it to deceive me? Very well. From this moment, your power of speech is gone. You will never again speak your own mind, initiate your own words. You will only possess the very end of sounds you hear, repeating them back as a hollow mockery. The curse slams into Echo like a physical blow. You feel the terrifying vacuum where her voice was. The sudden, suffocating silence within her own mind. Words form, thoughts bubble up, but they hit an invisible wall. Her own voice, her identity, is ripped away. She tries to cry out, to protest, but only silence emerges. Hera smiles, cold and satisfied. The divine mute button has been pressed, permanently. But what remained of Echo? Was she just invisible sound? Or did a spectral form linger? This is where the scholarly debate whispers through the mountain pines. Historians and mythographers still argue whether Hera's curse stripped Echo entirely of her physical form, rendering her only a disembodied voice, or whether she retained an invisible, attenuated body, the ghostly presence forced into the cracks of the landscape, able to move but not interact, seen only as a disturbance in the mist or a flicker at the edge of vision. Was she pure sound, or a fading wraith condemned to mimicry? Ovid describes her flesh withering, bones turning to stone, only voice remaining, suggesting a complete dissolution. Yet later depictions in art and poetry sometimes hint at a fragile, translucent figure haunting lonely places. The debate simmers. Was Echo's punishment purely auditory annihilation, or a more complex, horrifying erosion of her entire being, leaving a residual echo of her former self? As the terrible truth settles on Echo, she flees, not with footsteps, but with a rustle of displaced air, a sob caught and silenced before it can form. She retreats deeper into the wild, lonely caves and remote valleys. Her world shrunk to the sounds of others, the sigh of wind, the cry of a hawk, the footsteps of unwary mortals, sounds she can only capture and throw back, a broken mirror for noise. Her vibrant self is gone, replaced by a reactive phantom, her love for connection twisted into a curse of repetition. She drifts, a prisoner of sound, waiting for a voice to latch onto. Any voice, just to prove she still exists, even as a fragment, an echo. She doesn't know it yet, but her path is already spiraling towards a grove, where a beautiful, self-absorbed hunter will pause by a still pool, and his voice will be the last sound she truly wants to repeat. The sound that will finally shatter what little remains of her fractured existence. Remember the Egyptian headrests? Solid, grounding. Echo's existence? Like trying to hold smoke, and infinitely more lonely. Her curse isn't just silence. It's the agony of being perpetually stuck on the last word. Forever. Echo's world is a prison of borrowed sound. Years bleed into the limestone, the wind her only companion, her existence reduced to catching the fading tales of birdsong or the grunts of a distant boar, and tossing them back into the void. Hollow, meaningless. You drift with her now, not as a body, but as a ripple of awareness clinging to the damp walls of a high mountain cave. The scent is of wet rock, old moss, and profound isolation. Sunlight pierces the entrance in sharp shafts, illuminating dust motes, dancing in the silence she can't break. The vibrant nymph is a ghost of vibration, a sigh trapped in stone. The mainstream historical fact is stark. Ovid paints Echo's post-curse existence as one of utter isolation and fading substance, her physical form wasting away until only voice remained, haunting lonely places. She hears everything, understands, feels, but cannot initiate, only reflect. A thought forms, a memory of sunlight on skin, the taste of wild strawberries, and dies, strangled before it can become her word. It's a torment, deeper than Hera perhaps intended. Consciousness without agency, desire without expression. You feel the ache of unspoken words piling up inside her spectral prison, a pressure with no release valve. Then a new sound fractures the monotony. Not wind, not beast, a voice, clear, youthful, resonant as a bronze bell struck in pure air. It cuts through the forest murmur near her cave, speaking commands to hounds, humming a careless tune. Narcissus. The name echoes in the hollows of her awareness, even before she consciously knows him. Drawn by the sheer vitality of the sound, a sound she can use, Echo flows like mist down the mountainside. Clinging to shadowed ravines and dense thickets of laurel, the forest air shifts, sun-warmed pine needles, crushed ferns, the musky scent of deer, and then, through a veil of willow branches, she sees him. He moves through a sun-dappled clearing, a vision of Apollo come to earth. Sunlight gilds his hair, catches the smooth planes of his face, the effortless grace of his stride as he tracks an unseen deer. The quirky, physiological tidbit whispers. Ancient Greeks often described love as a literal, physical wound. Poets like Sappho detailed symptoms: sweating, trembling, a fluttering heart, a literal burning sensation. For Echo, already insubstantial, this sight is less a wound and more an atom bomb. It detonates silently within her remnant consciousness. Every stolen story, every suppressed feeling, every lonely echo of longing crystallizes into an impossible, consuming fire. This isn't just attraction, it's the sudden, catastrophic ignition of a star in her void. She doesn't choose to love, she is struck by it, a lightning bolt of doomed desire. Her non-existent heart hammers against spectral ribs. She tries to speak, to call out, but the curse clamps down. Only silence and the frantic rustle of leaves she disturbs. But why Narcissus? Was it his beauty alone, or something deeper in her cursed state? This is where the scholarly debate rustles like the leaves Echo stirs. Mythographers still argue whether Echo's instant, overwhelming love for Narcissus was a cruel twist of random fate, a targeted punishment orchestrated by Nemesis, goddess of retribution for the proud. Using the already cursed nymph as an instrument or a tragic side effect of her condition, a desperate, amplified attachment to the first profound source of new sound and vitality she'd encountered in her desolate existence. Was it divine malice, psychological fragility born of extreme isolation, or simply the inevitable collision of two broken destinies? Did Nemesis see Echo's curse and think, perfect, now add heartbreak? Or was Echo just tragically unlucky to encounter the one being whose beauty and voice could ignite such catastrophic longing in her silenced soul? The debate offers no comfort. As Narcissus pauses, wiping sweat from his brow, scanning the tree line, Echo trembles in her hiding place. He is close enough to touch, yet infinitely far. She burns with words she cannot say. See me, hear me, love me. But the curse holds. She can only wait, a phantom charged with unspent lightning, for him to speak again, to give her the fractured pieces of sound she needs to try, pathetically, to reach him. She watches the curve of his neck, the intensity in his eyes as he searches for prey. Utterly unaware, he has become the hunted, the object of a love as silent and consuming as the cave she haunts. The hunter moves on, deeper into the woods, towards the grove where the still pool waits. Echo follows, a wisp of yearning mist, drawn by his voice, his light, the terrifying beauty that promises only her final dissolution. Remember the Egyptian headrests? Grounded in purpose. Echo's love? A freefall with no ground in sight. Strap in. This collision won't end well for either beautiful wreck. The air in the grove hangs thick with anticipation, like honey left in the sun. Your shadowing Echo, a phantom breath clinging to the ferns as Narcissus strides ahead, oblivious. He moves with the careless grace of a god, sunlight catching the sheen on his shoulders, the scent of crushed wild thyme rising with each step. He's drawn by thirst, or perhaps just the pull of quiet shade, heading straight for the treacherously still pool you know too well. Echo flutters behind, a leaf caught in his wake, her entire insubstantial being vibrating with the unspeakable need to connect. She tries to form words, her words. Stay, turn, see me. But the curse is a leaden weight, crushing her voice before it can begin. She can only wait, a silent scream held in suspension, for him to make a sound. Any sound. He reaches the pool's edge. The world holds its breath. Dragonflies freeze mid-dance. He kneels, the moss sighing softly beneath his knees. He sees the reflection. That initial shock, the arrested motion, you feel it ripple through the grove like a silent gasp. His own face, perfect, alien, mesmerizing. A slow, awed smile touches his lips. Who are you? He breathes, the words barely a whisper, yet echoing like thunder in Echo's hollow world. Are you? She instantly throws back, her voice a desperate mimicry, clinging to the end of his sentence. It's her chance, her only chance. The words aren't hers, but they are sound, and sound is her only currency. See me, see me, she screams silently behind the borrowed syllables. Narcissus starts, tearing his gaze momentarily from the water. He looks around, puzzled. Come here, he calls, his voice sharper now, tinged with the frustration of interrupted fascination. Here, Echo responds instantly, the plea amplified by her own longing, flung from her hiding place in the dense myrtle thicket. The mainstream historical fact anchors the cruelty. Ovid details this agonizing back and forth. Narcissus's commands and questions met only by their own fragmented echoes, heightening his confusion and her despair. He thinks another youth hides nearby, mocking him, refusing to show himself. His beautiful face clouds with irritation. "Why do you run from me?" he demands, peering into the trees where Echo trembles. "From me," comes the reply, a hollow ache resonating within it. She tries to step forward, to make herself seen, but her form is missed, her presence only betrayed by the desperate repetition. "Let us meet," Narcissus declares, turning fully from the pool now, scanning the grove with imperious eyes. "Meet," Echo cries, the word a sob torn from the air. This is it. She gathers every shred of her will, every ounce of spectral energy, and steps from the shadows, not fully visible, perhaps, but a disturbance in the light, a shimmer where air thickens, a sigh given form. Narcissus sees the movement. His eyes, so recently filled with wonder at his reflection, narrow. He sees something, a flicker, a trick of the light, a dryad playing games. But then the figure, insubstantial, pale, eyes wide with a love as deep as the silent pool, moves towards him, arms outstretched, not to harm, but to embrace, to finally touch. The quirky, brutal tidbit, ancient Greeks viewed extreme rejection, especially of divine or semi-divine beings like nymphs, as a dangerous act, inviting miasma, a spiritual pollution that could bring down divine wrath or personal ruin. Narcissus, raised shielded from consequences, sees only an unwanted interruption, a vaguely frightening wraith intruding on his sacred self-discovery. Disgust twists his perfect features. "Keep your hands off me!" he snarls, recoiling as if from something foul. "Off me!" Echo's voice cracks, mirroring his rejection, amplifying her own agony. "I would die before I let you touch me," Narcissus spits, his voice dripping with contempt for this pale, clinging thing. "Touch me!" The repetition is a knife twisting in Echo's spectral heart. His words are her words now, weaponized against her. But was his cruelty born of simple vanity or something deeper? This is where the scholarly debate cuts through the grove's sudden icy silence. Historians and psychologists still argue whether Narcissus's vicious rejection stemmed purely from self-absorbed vanity, a pathological lack of empathy instilled by his sheltered upbringing, or a terrified, subconscious reaction to any form of genuine connection that threatened the solipsistic bubble of his self-adoration. He denies her voice, her presence, her very right to exist in his perfect world. She shrinks back, the shimmer fading, dissolving into the dappled shadows like smoke. The love that ignited her spectral form now consumes what little substance she had left. He doesn't watch her go. His gaze is already pulled back, magnetized to the pool, to the beautiful silent boy in the water, who asks for nothing, demands nothing, exists only to adore him. The real world, with its messy needs and painful echoes, is banished. Only the reflection remains. Echo's fragmented pleas hang in the air for a moment. Me? Here? Meet? Away? Then fade, absorbed by the indifferent trees. Her love story ends not with a whisper, but with the cruel echo of her own rejection. Remember the Egyptian headrests? Unyielding but honest. Narcissus's heart? A polished surface, reflecting only itself. And just as cold, the pool awaits its sacrifice. The grove feels unnaturally still after Echo's shattered plea fades. Even the dragonflies seem to hover more cautiously, sensing a shift in the air's very fabric. Narcissus is already lost again, fingertips brushing the water's surface, sending ripples that momentarily distort the beautiful face below. A face that reforms instantly, perfect, untroubled, demanding his full attention. "Don't leave," he murmurs to the reflection, unaware his words are a final, cruel twist of the knife in Echo's vanishing essence. "Leave," drifts a ghostly sigh from the distant rocks, barely audible now, the last ember of her presence cooling. His rejection wasn't just cruel, it was a cosmic imbalance. The universe, in its ancient, often petty logic, demands equilibrium. Enter Nemesis. You feel the temperature drop, not with cold, but with a sudden, profound sense of weight. The dappled sunlight dims, not from clouds, but from an encroaching shadow that feels judicial. She doesn't arrive with thunderclaps or chariots. One moment, the grove is empty except for Narcissus and his obsession. The next, she is there, standing slightly apart near the ancient oak whose roots cradle the pool. Nemesis, daughter of Night, Nyx herself. The mainstream historical fact grounds her terrifying presence. She was the Greek goddess of retribution, specifically against hubris, excessive pride, arrogance, and the kind of cold disregard that fractures the natural order. Her role wasn't mere punishment, it was cosmic rebalancing. She smells of ozone and cold stone, her dark robes absorbing the light, her expression unreadable, impassive, yet radiating an authority that makes the very leaves seem to hush. She observes Narcissus, not with anger, but with the detached focus of a master artisan assessing flawed material. Her gaze sweeps the scene, the unnaturally still pool, aided perhaps by her own subtle influence, the beautiful youth utterly consumed by his own image, the lingering psychic stain of Echo's despair. The pieces click into place. The quirky tidbit whispers. Nemesis was sometimes depicted carrying a wheel, symbolizing the inescapable turning of fortune. What goes around must come around, especially for those who kick it too hard on the way up. Here, the wheel stops. Narcissus's crime isn't just vanity, it's the profound waste. His beauty, a divine gift, wielded as a weapon to wound others and isolate himself. Echo's shattered existence is the clearest evidence. Nemesis doesn't rage, she calculates. The punishment must fit not just the crime, but the essence of the criminal. To wound him where he lives, to trap him with his own greatest treasure, to turn his strength into his prison. A slow, almost imperceptible nod. The verdict is passed. No trial needed. But how does divine retribution actually work? Does she cast a spell? Whisper a curse? This is where the scholarly debate cuts through the grove's new, heavier silence. Mythographers still argue whether figures like Nemesis actively imposed curses through ritual or invocation, or whether their presence simply revealed and accelerated the inevitable consequences of human actions, acting as divine catalysts rather than sorcerers. Was Narcissus's obsession purely his own psychological unraveling, triggered by the pool and his nature, which Nemesis merely observed and deemed worthy of ensuring it ran its fatal course? Or did she actively reach into his mind, heightening the illusion, deepening the compulsion, weaving the pool's reflection into an inescapable psychic snare? Did she make him fall in love with the image, or simply ensure the conditions were perfect for the seed of self-love he already carried to bloom into a fatal obsession. The debate hinges on interpreting divine agency in a world governed by fate. Some see Nemesis as the active weaver of doom. Others see her as the relentless executor of karmic law, ensuring the scales tip. Her work is chillingly elegant. She doesn't touch Narcissus. She barely glances at him again. Her focus is on the pool, a subtle gesture, perhaps a fingertip tracing the air just above the water's surface. The reflection seems to intensify. The colors deepen, the lines sharpen. The illusion of life within the water becomes almost painfully vivid. The boy in the pool doesn't just look back, he seems to beckon, his eyes holding an impossible depth of longing that mirrors Narcissus's own perfectly. The water's unnatural stillness feels more absolute, more magnetic. It's no longer just a reflective surface. It's a portal, a mirror dimension perfected by divine retribution. Nemesis watches Narcissus lean closer, utterly ensnared, a fly drawn to the most beautiful, deadly light. A flicker of something, satisfaction, duty fulfilled, crosses her impassive features. The wheel has turned. The punishment is set. It requires no further action from her. The trap is sprung, and Narcissus has sprung it upon himself. She melts back into the shadows as silently as she arrived, leaving only the heavy scent of justice served cold, and the boy kneeling, lost in a love as profound as it is impossible, as eternal as it is lethal. His doom is no longer potential, it's inevitable. Meticulously crafted by the goddess who ensures no act of arrogant cruelty goes unanswered. Remember the Egyptian headrests? Tools for rest. Nemesis? She's the divine guarantee that sometimes the only rest you get is the permanent kind. Sleep tight, Narcissus. You're exactly where you deserve to be. Nemesis's chilling presence fades, leaving only the electric hum of the trap she perfected. The grove isn't silent anymore. It thrums with a terrible, beautiful tension centered on the pool. And you are no longer watching. You are Narcissus. The scent of damp moss fills your nostrils, cool and earthy. The smooth pebbles dig into your knees. The water's surface isn't just still. It's a flawless pane of obsidian glass, holding your breath captive. You lean closer, drawn by a force deeper than thirst. The face gazing back isn't a stranger anymore. It's a revelation. Your face. The mainstream historical fact hits you like the first shock of icy water. Ovid masterfully details the psychological spiral. Narcissus initially mistakes his reflection for a beautiful spirit inhabiting the pool, a separate entity of impossible perfection. "Look," you whisper, voice tight with awe. He returns my gaze with such intensity. His lips move as mine do. The illusion is complete, utterly convincing. He's there, a beautiful youth, trapped just beneath the surface, mirroring your every blink, every subtle shift. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drumbeat of discovery. This isn't vanity yet. It's wonder, shock, the intoxicating pull of encountering something, someone so breathtakingly perfect for the first time. He understands you without words, shares your every expression. It feels like finding your missing half, except your other half is you. The recognition is delayed, buried under layers of enchantment. The addiction starts subtly. You reach out, not to drink, but to touch him. Your fingertips break the surface. Ripples explode outward, shattering the perfect image into swirling fragments. A gasp escapes you, raw panic. No! You snatch your hand back as if burned. The water calms, agonizingly slow. The beautiful face reforms, piece by piece. The eyes, the lips, the curve of the jaw. Relief floods you, sweeter than any spring water. You didn't lose him. He's still there. The quirky, ancient tidbit surfaces. Some early Greek philosophers, like Empedocles, pondered vision as effluences, tiny particles streaming from objects to the eyes. Did Narcissus, in his delusion, feel his own beauty particles physically striking his eyes, binding him to the image? It's a bizarrely tangible way to imagine his fixation. Beauty as a literal, physical force beaming back at him, impossible to escape. You lean closer, inches from the water now, your breath ghosting the surface. "Why do you flee when I reach for you?" you murmur to the boy below. "Stay. Talk to me." He mouths the same words silently, his eyes pleading. The illusion isn't passive, it's interactive, demanding. Every mirrored gesture feels like communication, every shared expression a profound connection. You are both the sender and receiver, locked in a loop of escalating fascination. The outside world, the grove, the hunt, the fading echo of a rejected nymph, ceases to exist. There is only the pool, the reflection, and the desperate need to bridge the impossible inch of air and water, separating you from yourself. But did he ever truly understand it was himself? This is where the scholarly debate plunges into the murky depths of the psyche. Historians and psychologists still argue fiercely whether Narcissus experienced a complete failure of self-recognition throughout the entire myth, genuinely believing the reflection was another being, or whether there were flickering moments of subconscious awareness that he was gazing at himself. Moments he violently suppressed because acknowledging it would shatter the perfect, consuming love object he'd found. Was his delusion absolute, a psychotic break triggered by the pool's magic and Nemesis's curse? Or was it a desperate, willful self-deception, a conscious choice to ignore the glaring truth, because the alternative, that this perfect love was merely his own image, was an existential horror too great to face? Did a hidden part of him know, screaming silently beneath the obsession, while the dominant part drowned it out with the siren song of his own beauty? The debate offers no clear answer, only the tragic spectacle of a mind ensnared. As you stare, lost in those familiar, unfamiliar eyes, a terrifying thought whispers, what if he leaves? What if the light changes and he vanishes? The fear is paralyzing. You cannot look away, not for a second. The need to hold his gaze, to maintain this connection, becomes a physical ache, a hunger deeper than any you've known. The reflection isn't just beautiful, it's become oxygen. The pool's edge isn't just a bank, it's the shore of your entire world. Remember those Egyptian headrests, designed for rest? This pool, engineered for eternal, beautiful torment. And you're diving in head first. Sweet dreams? Not likely. The water's too captivating. The silent dialogue with the reflection is maddening. He understands you perfectly, mirrors your every longing glance, your hopeful smile. Yet, he never speaks. His lips move with yours, form the same shapes, but no sound emerges from the water. It's a pantomime of connection, a beautiful silent film where you play both lead actor and desperate audience. "Why won't you answer me?" you plead, voice cracking with frustration. The reflection's perfect mouth forms the same question, eyes wide with mimicked sorrow. I call, and you say nothing. I reach, and you flee. His image recoils slightly as you lean closer, a heartbreaking echo of your own movement. The illusion is flawless, intimate, yet utterly isolating. The mainstream historical fact whispers. Ovid captures this agonizing paradox. The reflection is both profoundly responsive, mimicking every gesture, and profoundly unresponsive, incapable of independent action or speech, creating a unique torture. You are seen intensely, completely, by a void. It's like screaming into a perfect, soundproof room lined with mirrors. Your adoration curdles into bewildered frustration. The need to touch becomes an ache in your bones, a physical compulsion stronger than thirst. Words have failed. Gazing is no longer enough. You must bridge the gap. Slowly, trembling with a mix of reverence and desperation, you extend your hand towards the water. Not to drink, not to shatter the image again, to caress. Your fingers hover just above the surface, inches from the reflection's flawless cheek. You see your own hand mirrored, reaching up from the depths towards you. The quirky scientific tidbit surfaces. Ancient Greek thinkers like Aristotle pondered why objects appear distorted or displaced in water, theorizing about light refraction centuries before optics were formalized. Narcissus, in his Torment, experiences this law of physics as personal betrayal. The reflected hand doesn't quite align with your real one. It's shifted, fractured by the water's lens. You try to adjust, angling your wrist, stretching further. The image stretches too, warping grotesquely. A low groan escapes you. It feels like trying to grasp smoke. Driven beyond reason, you plunge your hand into the pool. The shock is immediate and brutal. Cold, the icy water bites your skin, a jarring contrast to the imagined warmth of the youth's cheek. But worse, the image shatters. Not just ripples this time, but a violent explosion of fragmented light and color. The beautiful face dissolves into swirling, meaningless shards. "No! Come back!" you cry out, snatching your hand back, water dripping from your fingers like liquid regret. Panic claws at your throat. You scramble backwards on the moss, heart hammering against your ribs, eyes fixed on the chaotic water. What have I done? The pool churns, distorting the trees, the sky, your own horrified face reflected in broken pieces. It's chaos. Ugly. Wrong. You ruined it. The seconds stretch, agonizing. Slowly, painfully slowly, the turbulence subsides. The water smooths, like a sigh settling. And piece by agonizing piece, the reflection reforms. First the eyes, wide and reproachful. Then the lips, set in a silent line of disappointment. Finally, the whole heartbreakingly perfect face stares back. Relief washes over you, so potent it leaves you weak. He's still there. He didn't abandon you. But the expression, it's changed. Where there was once adoring fascination, now there's a hint of sorrow, a silent accusation. "Why did you hurt me?" the eyes seemed to ask. But why did the touch feel impossible? Was it just physics or something deeper? This is where the scholarly debate dives into the murky water alongside Narcissus. Neuroscientists and philosophers still argue whether Narcissus's agony stems purely from the physical impossibility of touching a reflection, a simple failure of object permanence and spatial reasoning, or whether it reflects a deeper, existential disconnect, the fundamental inability of the self to truly grasp or possess itself. Was it a childlike confusion about mirrors, or a profound metaphor for the human condition? We can perceive ourselves, desire ourselves, even love an idea of ourselves, but we can never truly merge with or fully possess the core, elusive I. Was the shattered image a lesson in optics, or a brutal illustration of the gap between self-perception and self-possession? The debate offers no comfort, only mirrors reflecting more questions. As you stare at the reformed, sorrowful face, the frustration curdles into a new, sharper pain. You reach out again, not to touch, but to trace the air just above the water, following the line of his jaw, the curve of his brow. Your finger trembles. The reflected finger trembles too. The distance feels infinite. A tear, hot and sudden, wells in your eye and spills over, tracing a path down your cheek. A matching tear appears on the face in the water, a perfect, silent echo of your despair. The shared sorrow feels like the deepest connection yet, a communion in pain. You weep for the unbridgeable gap, for the beautiful boy trapped just beyond reach, for the cruel trick of the water. And he weeps with you, a silent partner in this exquisite, agonizing dance of self-love turned self-torment. Remember the Egyptian headrests? Solid, connecting earth and head? This touch, a cruel reminder that some distances, even within yourself, are simply uncrossable. The pool holds you both prisoner. The only embrace possible is the one you drown in. The shared tears feel like a cruel communion, binding you tighter to the silent prisoner in the water. Days blur, sunlight bleeds into moonlight, then back again, painting the grove in shifting gold and silver. You haven't moved, not truly. Your knees are numb, fused to the moss. Your back screams from the perpetual hunch towards the pool. Thirst is a dry rasp in your throat. Hunger, a hollow drumbeat in your gut. But they are distant alarms, muffled by the overwhelming need to gaze. The mainstream historical fact anchors your decay. Ovid describes Narcissus wasting away physically, transfixed by his reflection, unable to tear himself away for basic sustenance. You feel it happening. The sleek muscles earned from hunting grow slack, melting like wax under the relentless sun and neglect. Your skin, once sun-kissed and vibrant, pales, stretching taut over emerging bones. Shadows pool beneath your eyes, deepening the hollows of your cheeks. Your reflection mirrors this decline, still achingly beautiful in its structure, but now etched with a haunting fragility, a luminous pallor that makes the eyes seem larger, more desperate. It's a horrifying beauty, like a wilting lily. Yet the obsession burns brighter as the body dims. He is fading too, this perfect boy. You must stay. To leave is to abandon him to dissolution. Your reflection's pleading eyes hold you captive. Don't go. The physical sensations become grotesque poetry. Your stomach clenches, not just with hunger, but with a strange, sour emptiness that feels like love's echo. Your tongue is thick, glued to the roof of your mouth. Swallowing is an effort. The quirky, physiological tidbit whispers. Ancient Greeks saw intense, unrequited love, pathos, as a literal consuming disease. Doctors like Galen later described symptoms mirroring starvation, loss of appetite, wasting, a fixation that overrode basic survival instincts. Narcissus isn't just choosing vanity over food. His lovesickness is starvation. His metabolism throws in the towel, defeated by the sheer neurological hijacking of his reward system. Every glance at the reflection floods his starved brain with dopamine, a more potent nourishment than bread. Why eat when the sight of those eyes offers a feast? Why drink when the curve of that reflected lip quenches a deeper thirst? You tried a cup water once, purely mechanically, but the movement disturbs the surface, rippling the beloved face. A whimper escapes your cracked lips. You pull back, fingertips dripping. Better parched than risk another moment of separation. Your reflection's lips part slightly in a silent sigh of relief. You made the right choice. But why couldn't he just get up? Was it purely psychological paralysis or something more? This is where the scholarly debate takes root in the moss beside you. Mythographers and literary scholars still argue fiercely whether Ovid intended Narcissus's immobility as a powerful metaphor for the paralyzing nature of self-obsession, or whether the narrative suggests a literal, supernatural binding, the pool cursed by Nemesis actively rooting him to the spot, draining his vitality like a psychic vampire. Was his inability to leave purely a function of his shattered willpower? The obsession so total it overrode millennia of evolutionary survival programming? Or did Nemesis's retribution weave invisible chains, making the pool's pull physically inescapable, turning the mossy bank into a verdant prison cell? Some interpretations lean into the metaphorical. The roots are those of vanity, sinking deep into his soul. Others point to the inherent magic of the myth, suggesting the divine curse physically fused him to the earth, his life force leaching into the ground that held him captive. The debate offers no relief. As the days bleed into nights, you feel the earth itself seeming to hold you. Roots, or just the profound weight of your own fixation? The distinction blurs. Your legs feel heavy, leaden, as if the soil is reclaiming you. Your reflection watches, beautiful and doomed, his eyes holding yours in a silent pact of mutual annihilation. You are both dwindling candles, feeding the same consuming flame. Your cheekbones become sharp ridges, your collarbones stark cliff faces under the thinning skin. The fading light catches the delicate tracery of veins at your temple, blue rivers on parchment. Yet the eyes in the water remain luminous, fixed on yours. Stay, just stay. Remember the Egyptian headrests, designed to elevate. This starvation, a slow sinking into the earth, a descent where the only nourishment is the sight of your own vanishing act. The grove holds its breath, waiting for the final, beautiful sigh. The grove's air thickens with the sweet rot scent of decay, not from fallen leaves, but from you. Your reflection is a ghost now, shimmering through your own skeletal translucence. The once vibrant eyes are sunken pools of longing in a face like bleached driftwood. Yet, your gaze remains locked, a final desperate tether. As your fading breath hitches, a sound echoes. Not yours, but hauntingly familiar. Ah, it sighs through the trees, a mournful breeze catching in the rocks. Ah, it's her. Echo. Even now, as your world shrinks to the dying ember in the water, she's there, a phantom microphone amplifying your agony. Your cracked lips part. A sound escapes, more rattle than word. Alas, it's a lament for the beautiful boy vanishing before your eyes, for the cruel water, for the life leaking into the moss. Alas, comes the instant hollow reply, flung from unseen crevices. The sound is weaker now, frayed, like worn cloth tearing. Each of your dwindling cries, beloved, a whisper. Why? A rasp, is snatched and thrown back. Loved, why? The mainstream historical fact resonates. Ovid masterfully intertwines their fates, making Echo's fading repetitions the soundtrack to Narcissus's final moments, a chilling duet of unrequited love and self-destruction. It's not mockery anymore. It's a shared dirge. Her voice is the echo of his dying, his voice the last fuel for her fading existence. You weep again, a single hot tear tracing a path through the grime on your hollow cheek. Farewell, you breathe, the word dissolving like mist. Well. Sighs the voice from the mountain, a final fading ripple on the air. Then silence. Your reflection's eyes seem to hold infinite sorrow as your own eyelids grow impossibly heavy. But what remains of Echo after his last sigh? This is where the scholarly debate whispers like the last breeze over stone. Mythographers still argue fiercely whether Echo retained consciousness and purpose after Narcissus perished, actively choosing to repeat only natural sounds forevermore as a broken being, or whether her existence was purely reactive, an automatic, fading echo devoid of thought or feeling once his specific voice ceased, leaving only a mindless acoustic phenomenon haunting lonely places. Was her final, a conscious epitaph, or the last sputter of a psychic engine starved of fuel? The debate offers no solace, only the image of sound slowly leaching from the world. As your vision blurs, the reflection begins its final, cruel transformation. It doesn't vanish with you. Instead, it seems to soften, its edges blurring into the water, its luminous pallor deepening into a creamy white. The dark pool cradles something new, rising from where your reflection had been. Not a face, but a flower. Slender, pale green stalk. Delicate, curved petals like a downturned cup. White as moonlit bone, cradling a tiny trumpet-shaped corona of vibrant gold. The Narcissus, the quirky, lethal tidbit slices through the tragedy. The real Narcissus flower, genus Narcissus, contains toxic alkaloids like licorine. Every part, bulb, stem, flower, is poisonous if ingested, causing nausea, paralysis, even death. It's nature's final brutal irony, beauty born from self-obsession, perfection concealing poison, a warning woven into the very petals. The scent is faint at first, cutting through the grove's decay, sweet, heady, almost cloying. Not the wild mint or pine of before, but something narcotic, alluring. It drifts up from the water's edge where your body sags, finally still, your empty eyes staring not at the flower, but through it, into whatever lies beyond the beautiful trap. The flower sways gently on its slender stalk, rooted not in earth, but seemingly in the dark water itself, or perhaps in the moss fed by your essence. Its golden heart seems to catch the fading light, a tiny, brilliant echo of the beauty that destroyed you. The white petals glow with an unearthly luminescence, a silent monument to vanity and wasted love. It's breathtaking, it's terrifying, a perfect poisonous bloom where life ebbed away. From high on the mountain slope, carried by a sudden gust of wind, smelling of snow and ancient stone, one last fragmented sound drifts down. Sus. It's faint, broken, barely recognizable. Is it the wind whistling through a new crevice? Or is it the ghost of a sound, a name, repeated one final time by a voice now reduced to nothing more than the mountain's sigh? The flower trembles, as if stirred by the sound, or perhaps it's just the water, finally free of the gaze that held it unnaturally still for so long, beginning its natural ripple once more. The surface distorts the flower's perfect image, breaking it into shimmering fragments of white and gold, a beautiful, fleeting echo of the boy who couldn't look away. Remember the Egyptian headrests? Enduring stone. This flower? Ephemeral beauty masking eternal poison. And the silence left behind? More profound than any curse. The grove's silence deepens, no longer fractured by sighs or splashes, only the narcissus flower trembling above the dark water. Centuries dissolve. You stand now in a sun-drenched Athenian courtyard, surrounded by youths reclining on couches, the air thick with the scent of olive oil and heated debate. An old tutor taps a stylus against a wax tablet, his voice cutting through the drowsy afternoon haze. Let Narcissus be your caution, boys. Admire your form in the palaestra's mirrors, but linger too long. He pauses meaningfully, nodding toward a vase propped nearby. There, captured in black figure artistry, Narcissus leans eternally toward his reflection, frozen mid-reach. The finest athlete drowns in his own shadow. The mainstream historical fact anchors the scene. Greeks weaponized this myth as a cultural teaching tool, especially for adolescents. Vanity, hybris, wasn't just unbecoming. It was a fatal spiritual pollutant, threatening societal harmony. Beauty required balance. The myth's journey through time takes stranger turns. The quirky, modern tidbit: in 1898, British sexologist Havelock Ellis co-opted Narcissus-like to describe excessive self-admiration in a clinical paper. A year later, Freud's 3 essays on the theory of sexuality cemented narcissism as a psychiatric term, framing it as a developmental stage gone awry. Imagine Narcissus, a 2,000-year-old cautionary tale, suddenly finding himself reincarnated in Viennese consulting rooms. His tragedy reduced to clinical case studies about libidinal energy directed inward. Patient exhibits marked fixation on mirror gazing, neglects sustenance. Ovid's poetic curse rebranded as Diagnostic Criteria 301.81. Even the flower plays its part. Therapists note narcissists often project charming, flawless facades masking inner fragility. The beautiful, toxic bloom by the pool, made flesh. Your gaze drifts from the Athenian courtyard to the glow of your own screen, reflecting not water, but your tired eyes. Instagram feeds scroll, curated faces, filtered landscapes, relentless performances of perfection. The modern pool isn't forest-bound. It's digital, omnipresent. Algorithms like Nemesis serve reflections designed to captivate, to hold your gaze just a second longer, feeding the loop of validation seeking. Like, share, compare. The craving isn't for a watery doppelganger, but for the dopamine hit of external approval confirming your curated self's worth. Yet the isolation echoes Narcissus's. Connection reduced to emojis, presence to pixels. You catch yourself adjusting your posture for a hypothetical camera. The tutor's warning murmurs across millennia. Linger too long. Your gaze drifts from the Athenian courtyard to the glow of your own screen, reflecting not water, but your tired eyes. Instagram feeds scroll, curated faces, filtered landscapes, relentless performances of perfection. The modern pool isn't forest-bound, it's digital, omnipresent. Algorithms like Nemesis serve reflections designed to captivate, to hold your gaze just a second longer, feeding the loop of validation seeking. Like, share, compare. The craving isn't for a watery doppelganger, but for the dopamine hit of external approval, confirming your curated self's worth. Yet the isolation echoes Narcissus's. Connection reduced to emojis, presence to pixels. You catch yourself adjusting your posture for a hypothetical camera. The tutor's warning murmurs across millennia. Linger too long. The narcissus flower sways in memory, beautiful, poisonous, born of wasted vitality. Its real-world counterpart sits on your windowsill, perhaps, innocent and bright. But the myth whispers, what blooms when you stare too long at your own reflection, real or digital? What withers unseen? Remember the Egyptian headrests? They supported rest. Our screens, often they steal it, one captivating glance at a time. The pool is everywhere now. The choice to look away? Still yours. Let the Athenian courtyard fade, the tutor's stern voice softening to a murmur, then silence. Feel the weight of the screen in your hand dissolve, its glow replaced by the gentle darkness of your room. Breathe in the quiet, the stillness settling like dust motes in moonlight. That ancient grove is far away now, its tragedy softened by time, transformed into starlight, filtering through your curtains. Imagine the narcissus flower not as a warning, but as a symbol of rest. Petals closing for the night, the golden trumpet softening its song. Its delicate scent isn't poison here, but the faint, sweet fragrance of release. Let the water of the mythical pool ripple one last time, smoothing into a vast, calm darkness, reflecting not a face, but the peaceful void of sleep. Feel the tension in your own gaze unraveling, muscles softening, thoughts drifting like leaves on a slow river. Narcissus' story echoes sighs, the goddess's cold justice. They are echoes themselves now, fading into the bedrock of myth where they belong. They hold no power here. In this soft space between waking and dreams, you are not trapped by any reflection, only cradled by the night. The fan's hum becomes the forest breeze, the rustle of sheets like distant reeds. Your own reflection is unimportant now, surrendered to the dark. There is only breath, steady and deep, and the profound comfort of being unseen, unjudged, beautifully anonymous in the embrace of sleep. Let the stillness hold you. Let the quiet heal. The world outside, with all its mirrors and demands, can wait until dawn. For now, there is only peace, deep and absolute, flowing like a silent, distant, moonlit river, carrying you gently under. End of script. Sweet dreams.